What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Common Theory, the number one. I don't. I think we have to change this intro up a little bit because we're not only the number one competitive Pauper EDH podcast, but we're now also one of the 60 card Pauper podcasts.
We are.
So we are a competitive Pauper podcast in all the ways. We're coming at you today with some 60 card content. I know, last time, if you've been keeping up with us, we mentioned that we're going to be doing a little bit more of this stuff, as we continue on. So, kicking off today with a tournament, 1.5 tournament reports. But before we get into it, Chris, how have you been, man?
Bro, not too bad, man. I'm sore. The gym's got me. Gym's got me super sore, but
nice.
Excluding that, dude, weather's been beautiful, pretty hot. The only complaint is the mosquitoes have been, holy crap, if they've been bad.
I don't miss that. That's a problem that I don't have yet.
Dude, they're literally, I wear jeans to work.
Yeah.
And I wear high socks because, I'm a boomer, right? And, bro, they bite me through my jeans, through my socks.
Through the sock?
I'm like, these things are crazy.
Those Florida mosquitoes are crazy, man. They're enormous. They're huge. Yeah.
They're really big.
And then fat guys.
Yesterday I had like a crazy experience too, where I was doing a lot of outside work, and I start walking over to my truck, and I put my arm out, and all of a sudden I see this giant like green and yellow spider running down my arm, and I'm like, what the F is this thing? So I learned how to get spiders off of me, right? Because, most people start trying to slap it, but they're fast, right? So you miss them.
Yeah.
My dad taught me to just take your hand, you grab your arm, and you just slide, because then you throw it off of you.
That makes sense.
Right? No matter what kind of bug it is, that'll always work, right?
Huh.
So I sling this one off of me, and I'm like, that was terrifying. I immediately get into my truck, right? So this is my heart's already pumping because I just slung this one off. I get in my truck, and I feel my neck running, and I'm like, oh no. And I stop moving, and I'm like, I don't know what kind of spider this is. So I go like this to touch my neck, and I grab, bro. I go like this, and off my hand comes this giant spider, bro. This big. I think it was a brown recluse. It was a giant brown spider. It lands between my legs because I'm sitting in my truck seat. I immediately jump up in the air, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And I can't catch it, right? Because it's lightning blistering fast. So I get up, open the door, get out. It goes running into my truck somewhere, and I'm like, oh my God. So I end up going, okay, that's the second spider that's been on me in 3 seconds. So I end up stripping almost naked in the middle of the street because that's where I'm at right now. I just take my shirt off. I'm taking my pants off because I still feel stuff crawling on me. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I kind of look around. I find a beetle in my shoe. I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like what a day. Just what a day.
Insane. Jesus.
Nothing bit me. So that's the good part.
That's great.
That's the good part, right?
Yeah, brown recluse bite is serious business.
Yeah. And the feeling on the back of your neck like this, dude, I'm like, oh no, please don't bite. But besides that, everything else has been fantastic. So, but what about yourself, bro? How you doing? I know you had the events, and we're getting ready to talk about it. So
I've been all right. We had a big Pauper event in New York City last week. It was the NYCIS Pauper Open at Kunx. It's the biggest Pauper event in New York. One of the biggest, I think, in the U.S. I think 130 people enrolled, but actually only about 82 people showed up.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely a decent showing. It was a pretty big tournament, pretty big event. It was run really well.
That's good.
Yeah, it was solid. Kunx, which is a shop on the Upper West Side in the city, is really great. They have a full restaurant and bar, so you can get beer and stuff, which is awesome. It's a great place to hang. I'd never been there before, actually, even though it's not too far from me. So it was really nice to check it out. And everyone that I met was super cool. It was like such a good group of people, and a lot of my like the local Jersey City pauper scene. A lot of the people from my LGS, Victory Point, they showed up. We had like at least 10 of us there, which is awesome. So we made up a solid like more than 10% of the tournament was our crew, which is
That's
great.
awesome.
It does mean that we cannibalized each other a little bit, which sucked in Swiss. What are you gonna do? It's
Yeah,
gonna
that
happen.
happens.
Um, and then of course, Memorial Day weekend, hanging out with the family, and then because of there's just constant people nonstop. It was also Chum Eric, who also played in the Pauper tournament. It was his birthday on Saturday,
Oh
and we
my
went to medieval
gosh.
times. So we were drinking all day and like doing medieval times stuff. So like all of that ended up in me getting a really bad cold on Wednesday. So I'm still a little stuffy, feeling a lot better though. But like I had to like take off of work on Thursday because I had a fever. I was feeling miserable. But like I feel like that for all of you tournament grinders out there, I feel like that's pretty common. Playing a big Magic tournament, you're just like with hundreds of people, and you're like touching cards and stuff, and like eating and drinking all at the same time, right? Shaking people's hands and all that, and
Yep.
then you're like grinding all day, right? You're not sleeping well, and that leads to getting sick. I feel it happens to me all the time.
Definitely, definitely.
Yep.
Well, I'm
Yep.
glad to
Yep.
hear everything else went well. I mean, getting sick sounds like it was still worth it after all the fun you had. So
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. It was
that's
good. It was
awesome.
a good weekend for sure. For sure. But yeah, as it was a great tournament. I'll get to it in a second. I didn't do so well, unfortunately. But I'm currently in a league, the Paper Pauper League, which is a monthly tournament on the Paper Pauper Discord. For all of you Pauper players, if you're not on it, I highly recommend it. It is a great experience. I've been playing in that league for about 3 years now, even though I took a break for about just under a year last year. Basically, when we moved into this apartment, I took a break and only started playing a couple months ago again. Um, it's a great experience. Highly recommend. You get to play against lots of different kinds of people from all over the world, and everyone is just so cool. Like everyone I talk to is just so chill, and they just like play for the love of the game, and it's a very different experience than playing in a paper tournament because the stakes are non-existent. So like people are just playing because they love it. And the other interesting thing is because it's not like a proctored tournament with judges, um, it's really chill. But also there's no timers on the rounds, so people feel a little bit more free to play their grindier and little like goofier decks that take a little longer to play, and people are a little bit more patient. So it's quite a bit different than being in like a high stakes tournament like this past weekend, where I feel like the timer was my biggest enemy in my matches. So
Well,
uh,
let's delve
what?
into that then, man. Let's start up. Let's delve into that because I think that's really interesting to talk about because
Mhm.
I think your deck is why it mattered so much, right? Because you're
Yes.
one of the few. In fact, I only know one other person that plays your deck. Like it's just not many people play it anymore. In fact, it's funny because I'm actually here. This will make you laugh. I don't know if you could read that, but
Yeah. There you go. Esper Fams. Yep.
so this is very few people play it. So it's interesting to hear. It's going to be interesting to hear everything that you have to say about it, especially comparing one to the other so far. So
Yeah. 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 So yep. Um, not to bear the lead, but I'm playing Azorius Familiars. It is a deck as old as Pauper itself for the most part. It's been around for a long time. Really quick for those who don't know, the way it works is the quintessential card is the Sunscape Familiar. It's a 2 mana 0/3 white wall that says that all of your blue spells and green spells, but I'm not playing any green spells. Some players do, are discounted by one colorless mana. So what does that allow you to do? It allows you to get some really interesting micro interactions that basically allow you to recur a lot of value from the deck. Primarily, like the main card that you're pairing with the Sunscape Familiar is Snap, which, of course, if you're playing Pauper, you know this card, but it's a blue and 1 colorless to return a target creature to its owner's hand. Then you untap 2 lands. The lands that you're playing aren't just regular lands. You're also including Chanceries, or the dual mana bounce lands, white-blue bounce land. So if you have a familiar out and you snap something, you get to untap a Chancery or 2. If you get to untap 2 Chanceries, that means you're getting crazy value, because for 1 blue mana, you have a ritual that's netting you, +4. So you're going up +3. It's like a dark writ plus a bounce on top of it. So it's like crazy value, right? Things you can do with that. You can, of course, bounce your opponent's creatures, but you're mostly using it to bounce your own value creatures. The number one being the Muldrifter. So you evoke a Muldrifter. Once again, your evoke is discounted by 1, right? So you evoke the Drifter. You get a draw 2 trigger. You draw your 2 cards, and you respond to the sacrifice trigger on the stack by snapping it back to your hand, untapping your Chanceries. Now you've, for 2 blue mana, you've drawn 2 cards and netted another 2 white mana, effectively, or some combination of, depending on your mana situation, which is pretty great. You can sink that white mana into more familiars, into a bunch of other cards like Godfarer's Faithfuls, which allow you to gain life every time you cast a blue card, or an Ephemerate that allows you to get even more value. You can flicker an Archaeomancer to get something returned back from your graveyard. You can flicker another Muldrifter to draw more cards. So you have a lot of options.
It sounds like value.com is essentially
it's value.com. It is the most value accruing deck in the format, in my opinion. I think the only other deck that comes close is Jund Wildfire, which is also an affinity. Both of them are just have crazy amount of card draw because of your draw 2 spells with things like Ichor Wellsprings, right? You get your pseudo Ancestral Recall, right? Well, not anymore because we don't have Deadly Dispute, but it's still pretty good. 2/4 mana to draw 3 and get some kind of additional value out of it. It's pretty good. Still not as good as Fams. Fams has insane value, right? You're just drawing a ton of cards. One of the issues of the deck, actually, it could be, depending on how you're playing it, is drawing too many cards. You can absolutely draw too many cards, so you have to very much balance your value. One of the ways you mitigate drawing too many cards is with the Modern Age, which allows you to draw and discard a card, allows you to loot. So you can draw more. Feel free to draw more cards because you're looting the cards you don't need. Other ways to play the deck. Some decks don't play the Modern Age and are instead playing things like Murmuring Mystic, and they're playing Meeting of Minds to instant speed draw cards in your opponent's turn by convoking creatures. And then the other sort of way of playing the deck that has sort of risen to the top is playing a 4 High Tide list and sort of no Chanceries, and really just focusing on your combo, trying to get as much blue mana as possible. And you're doing things that we actually see in Pauper EDH a lot, by using Archaeomancer snap combos, by snapping your Archaeomancer, but you've cast a bunch of High Tides, untapping blue, retapping your islands, accruing, going positive by playing Archaeomancers and snapping them repeatedly, gain infinite mana, and then you can sink that into draw spells. Eventually, you can find, multiple Archaeomancers, a Ghostly Flicker, and something like a Deep Analysis. And then you can Deep Analysis yourself until you draw your deck. You can then Deep Analysis your opponent, and ideally they don't have enough mana to keep up with your infinite mana and counter spells, and you draw them out and they lose. So a few different ways to build a deck. My version that I'm playing right now is a hybrid. I'm playing 2 High Tides in my deck and 1 Merchant Scroll. So it's like a 3rd High Tide. It could also be, your 5th Snap. It could be a way to draw a card because I'm playing 1 Impulse, so I can Merchant Scroll for an Impulse if I have a fan out. So that's like a 2 blue mana instant speed. 2 blue mana sorcery speed. Look for a card. Dig for. Not the worst. Not great, but it's an option. My goal is in game 1 is to basically go infinite around. It's a bit slow. It's slow as far as Pauper goes. I hit my infinite around turn 5 through 7, and then go make my infinite mana, do my thing, draw them out. And then in games 2 and 3, I'm typically siding out my combo because they're bringing in things like duress and negates and dispels and whatnot because they're scared of High Tide. Generally, that's the play pattern, and that's like what I've been doing. Is it right? Is it optimal?
Let me ask you a few questions here. So it sounds like the deck is kind of So tell me if you think this is kind of the wrong way to say it, but it sounds like it's incredibly dirtily, right? It's kind of spinning its wheels a lot, trying to do the thing, but it takes time to do the thing, right? So,
Yeah, well, sort of. I agree with you that it's dirtily in games 2 and 3, but in
mhm,
game 1, it's pretty divisive because it has a very clear combo route that
mhm,
you almost always guarantee draw into by turn 6.
got
Then
it.
you're just waiting to actually have enough
Do the thing.
counters to back it up and do the thing. But
Okay.
it's like 95% of the time you're finding all your pieces between turns 5 and 7. And actually, my game ones tended to be, because of that, more like very clear cut. I'm either winning or losing, and my game ones were very quick. But it's game 2 and game 3 when I sided out the combo, and I'm like, oh my god, these games are going forever.
Well, that's interesting, right? Like I think that's what's really interesting about your online experience because you already said like, there's no timers or anything like that
Yeah,
online, so people are more chill and relaxed. But
yep,
your in-person experience is not that way. So let's kind
yep.
of talk about that. So game one's nice and quick. Did you have any draws or did you go to time a lot?
Um, I did not. I did not have any draws, but I did go to time. Um, once. No, I only went to time once. Actually, it was only my
Only
first
went to
game.
time once?
Yep.
And
Mhm.
like what were some of your matches? Like let's just like kind of go through because I'm really interested to hear and I think everybody'd be interested to hear what you played against. Like I know we were talking before we started recording here, but
Mhm.
I know you played against Madness, Rakdos Madness.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
else did you
I'll
play
go through
against?
from the top. So my first opponent was a Mono Blue Terror player. He actually placed second overall. He was
Oh
one
wow.
of the finalists in the tournament, which is really interesting. Um, but yeah, he was a Mono Blue Terror. We had a very divisive, very quick game 1, where he got 3 Delvers out by turn 2, and
Jesus.
then flipped them all. And I was like, all right, I'm just dead here. It's fine. I'm okay with that though. Like, I don't mind a fast divisive game. I have a decent game too. Um, Against Terror though, I actually, funny enough, as one of the decks I don't side out the combo for. I keep
Mhm.
it in. But I don't keep. I just like um, I minimize it. I keep a merchant scroll and I cut one of the high tides. And yeah, but for the most part, the deck is mostly the same actually against Terror. And I bring in Destroy Evils. But
Got it.
uh, yeah, my our game 1, it was pretty quick. But well, actually, it was divisive, but it wasn't quick. I'll put it that way. He flipped, but on my turn, my opponent was he. So he wasn't a native English speaker. In New York City, we have a lot of Spanish is basically, and you would know this. Miami's the same way. Spanish
Yep.
is like a very close second language to English, right?
Yep.
Like especially where I live in Jersey City, like there are large parts of Jersey City that no one's speaking English. It's like
I was going
everyone's
to say
speaking
that's it's very reminiscent of here. There's
lot.
sections you
Yeah,
go
yeah.
to, there are literally no English speakers.
Oh yeah, yeah. If I
Yeah.
walk to the bodega that's like around the block for me, no one in there speaking English,
Yeah.
and that's fine. I honestly, I love that. I love that about where I live. So it's not weird to me. It was a little frustrating though because I did have to stop and explain every interaction with this opponent, which did slow us down on my turn when I was trying to do stuff. And then when we got into our game 2, I got ahead pretty quickly. So, but I couldn't close out. I had a soft lock with Ephemerate, and I was like slowing him down. He basically couldn't do anything, and so the
Mhm.
game was just grinding out really, really, really long. And our game 1 was probably like about just under 20 minutes, which is like medium fast, not super
Yep.
fast. But our game 2 took the rest of the time. We went to time, and it was just really painful because I had to explain every single card, and even then, I he wasn't doing a good enough job because he was a Spanish speaker. So then he insisted on looking everything up on Scryfall, which I'm once again totally cool with. But I probably should have called a judge over to like just watch the game to help speed things along a bit
Yeah.
because
Mediate it.
I
Yeah.
probably could have gotten to a point where I'm like, look, dude, you can't win this. So, and look to the judge and be like, can we call this? Like, it's impossible at this point. It's like literally impossible. Can we move this along? And it might have been more in my favor. I don't know, maybe not. Maybe the judgment were like, nope, you just got to play it out, and that's that. And we would have gone to time anyway because he's not playing slow enough for it to be an issue. I don't know. Obviously, my opponent was a very good player. He got second in a very large major tournament. So I was, a little bit salty. It was just a learning experience for me, though. I was like, I should have called the judge earlier. And I think that's good advice for anybody.
Yeah.
Yep. But yeah, props to that dude.
So what was your next round then? Because this is interesting because Familiars is always like that deck that's always been like, I enjoy playing it sometimes, but that seems like a deck I would not want to take to a very large tournament because I feel like I would just end up going to time a lot. Even if I played against like mono red, right? Because, I've seen builds with prismatic strands, you know what I mean? You have so much life gain. You would just lock them up, but you can't just kill them.
Right.
So,
yeah, 100%. Yeah, and that's what happened in that game. Like, I locked him up. I just couldn't kill him. I literally couldn't get the damage in. And I'm like, shoot. And you know what? It was so sad. At the very end of the round, we went to turns, and I was only off by 4 damage.
Yeah.
I needed but I was only able to get in with 1/2/2 flyer.
Yeah.
Against his flip Delvers. And so, I needed, even to get that 4 damage in, it would have taken me 2 more turns.
See, that's why I like the Murmuring Mystic variants, but the Murmuring Mystic is typically one of in the list, and I just don't like that because
I don't like that either.
You can't find it effectively, and you're not going to be playing cards like Step Through to go look for it, right? It's just a Murmuring Mystic, and you never won it. Yeah, but you never want the card in the first 5 turns, right? You want it on turn 6 or 7.
Yeah.
When you can establish it, hold up stuff, and it's just it's kind of wonky.
Yeah, the top 5, the 5th list in top 8 was a FAMS player who was playing Step Through with the Murmuring Mystic. Yeah.
See, I could see it because I've tried playing Step Through. I've also tried playing the Aether Mage.
Yeah.
That was kind of dumb. But a lot of people are playing weird little changeling creatures that I was like, maybe I could bounce something.
Maybe. I only like Step Through in the lists that are going full on for High Tide. Because you have mana for days where you can you have so much blue, you can be Step Through for Mancer, kill you, or you can go Step Through for Mystic, make a bunch of birds, wall up, and be all right, you're dead in 3 turns, at this point.
Yeah.
Or 2 turns or whatever. I think that is viable. I'm so sus of, a Step Through in the non-High Tide list. And the guy who top 8'd with FAMS was playing very straightforward, basically the stock list plus Murmuring Mystic and Step Through in the sideboard, but stock list otherwise.
And was it Azorius or was it
Azorius.
Azorius.
Yeah, basically playing GN42's stock FAMS list plus those 2 cards in the sideboard because GN's a very anti-Murmuring Mystic guy.
Got it.
And he's probably the best FAMS player in the world at the moment. Okay, and then all right. So after that was round 1. Round 2 was against one of my very close friends. Shout outs to Michelangelo. Yeah,
What's he playing?
He's a Elves player through and through. Mono green. Elves.
I like him already.
Yeah. Yep. He's playing with Sagu Wildlings, and that came up. That was a thing. Dude, the Saga Wildlings walled up all my flipped Modern Ages, which was really painful.
Interesting.
I was like, damn it.
I have not seen a list with those in it.
Yeah, he's not playing Land Grant, but he's on Saga Wildling. Yeah, he's on 13 lands, I think, total. His list is very, very cool.
They're at... Wait, no, well, okay. Yeah, no Land Grant, because the Land Grant variants I've been seeing are at 9 lands. So if you're not playing Land Grant, you're
7 and 9,
Yep.
So he's on 13. He crushed me. Just crushed me.
Really?
Yeah, game
are you
1.
Not playing Strands?
I'm not playing Strands.
Oh.
No. Yeah. Instead, I'm on. Yeah. And even I was at one point, but it was in the sideboard. So even game 1, I would game 1, I got wrecked. He just had a massive Hydra by turn 3, and there's nothing I could do about that. I just got destroyed. But I'm okay, fine. I have a lot of instant speed, enchantment, destruction, and like I've got like destroy evils, I've got Thraben charms, I've got a Dominating Cleric in the sideboard. Of course, I can flicker that guy. I've got some options. I've also got a bunch of creature. I've got negates, to stop their card draw. I've got remove soul. Remove soul to stop
So
some of
wait,
their
he's just
important
paid.
help.
Wait, okay. Tell me if I'm wrong here, because I'm not too familiar with the card. Isn't that card the Wildling? Is that an omen or is it an adventure?
It's an
I thought it
omen.
was an omen,
It's an
right?
omen.
So it
He
shuffles
was
back
hard
into the
casting it.
deck.
Yeah, he was just hard
So
casting.
he's not even using it to get the land. He's just like 5 mana, 6 mana, 5 mana.
5.
Tell me in the comment section. 5.
Yeah. So I mean, he saw in both in game 1 he saw 2 of them. In game 3 he saw 3 of them. Game 1 he saw 2 of them. In game 2 he saw 3 of them. In game,
That's actually kind of cool because you could lead to stampede them into your hand, right?
which is literally what he did. He lead the stampeded. So he had to lead the stampede. I negated. Then he's like, all right, winding way. I'm like, shit. And he's like, all right, winding way. Found 2. Then of course, basically land granted one of them. Got his land drop. Played the Saga Wildlight, and then the following turn, that was like turn 2. Then turn 3, he hydrated it up, and I'm like, oh no, this is bad.
I gotta see the power and toughness on this card. What are they?
It's a 3/3 flyer. Yeah.
They're 3/3 flyers. The question becomes: is the Tree Folk better, or is
not against familiars? Against familiars, the flyer is better. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a 3/3 beater.
Yeah. It's painful, man. It's painful.
It's interesting.
Yeah. I was like, are you kidding me?
Interesting.
Yeah, he just wailed on me with this massive thing. Yeah, his board was crazy in game 2, and I got wrecked. I think both our games lasted 15 minutes tops.
Damn. So
yeah. Also, game 2, I mulled to 5, which was very painful, and had to keep a 1-lander, which was also bad. And then I had a 1-lander with a tap land with an idyllic beachfront into a preordain. So I didn't actually have land tap. I had tap lands. I didn't have untapped lands until turn 3, and I was like, I'm just dead, dude. I'm just wrecked. He's
next round. Let's go to the next round. Sounds like elves obliterated you and
obliterated me, man. Against elves, the only way that I really win, even with strands, strands is just another perfect answer, right? It's strands or destroy evil. If I found a destroy evil, that would have been great too. It would have been the same thing. I needed one of the silver bullets in the sideboard, but there's not many. There's 3, right? Really, maybe 4. It's really 2. It's the 2 destroy evils, and if it's not a destroy evil, then it's 1 destroy evil, 1 strands, right? Either one, you're hoping for one of them within turn 3, and then you need to find an Archaeomancer, and you need to be able to find an Ephemerate to flicker it.
You just don't have the time against them.
It's asking a lot, to stop them. You need all your perfect answers in time. It's just a horrible matchup. It wasn't happening. I really just need to dodge that deck and not worry about it, right?
Yep.
And that's fine. All right. The next match was against Flickertron.
That seems like a deck you could beat. Is it
very much a deck that I can beat? I think that's just in Fam's favorite. I think Flickertron has a really hard time against familiars in general.
I was just saying in general because it's trying to kind of do what you're doing.
It's just worse at it. Yeah,
but that's the point exactly. It's just worse at doing what you're doing because they're playing they're all mystical teaching decks now, right?
Yes.
So
it has a better. I think it has a better matchup spread than Azorius Familiars in overall.
Really,
slightly better. Yeah, it can deal with elves a lot better. It can deal with a lot of these really fast go wide decks. Actually, funny enough,
their sideboards are actually Now that
because
I'm
of it plays a ton of moments pieces. It plays multiple breath weapons. It plays.
They bring some in from the board too. So
and if they can get to turn 4, they can Stoneheart Dignitary or Genrova Horror, the big threat or whatever. Right?
Yeah.
It's got these it's got more. It's just more volume of answers. It also plays multiple Weather the Storms, which can if they
keep their head above water.
Yeah, if your opponent's deck can't cash out by turn 4, turn 5, well, they're probably going to Weather the Storm and at least claw back up to 10 life, and then then you have a problem because they're like a cockroach. You can't kill them at that point.
Yeah.
Fams doesn't really do that.
They're like a cockroach.
Flickertron is the cockroach deck. You just
let
keep
me
trying to kill
introduce
it.
you to my Malwall, bro. No.
Yeah, you just can't kill that deck, right? Once it starts doing the thing, you're like,
that's funny.
yeah.
Okay, all right. So you beat this deck. You beat this deck, right? Because
yeah, it was just like he didn't have much of a chance. Game one was he started getting stuff down. He started getting walls down, and then I was able to just snap them, and then start playing my game and just accruing value. And he just didn't see his. I mean, there's really no real card draw in that deck. That's like the problem. You got Muldrifters, right? That's all you get. He was able to Muldrifter once, and then but he wasn't able to actually flicker it, so it just dies. And then he like tried to pulse it back. I countered that, and then like the next Muldrifter gets removed sold, and then I got an Arcanemancer and an Ephemerate. I'm like, all right, dude, now I've got this Ephemerate lock. And he's like, all right, yeah, let's go to game 2. I'm like, all right, done. So at that point, he's just said, fuck it. He was a very, very gracious opponent. He knew his shit. This dude, Chris from Rhode Island, very, very cool guy. He kind of dressed like me. We're both like into hardcore bands and stuff. So we like, immediately I'm like, this guy's cool. And we hit it off. And,
I can see you sitting across the table. Yeah.
I was like, cool shirt, dude. He's like, yeah, likewise. Like, sick. He knew my deck and I knew his deck, so it was very easy. Like, it was so nice to play against someone who knew the cards and knew the interactions. He's like, I'm gonna do that. I'm like, I already know. I played this deck. Do your thing, man. I knew exactly what you're doing. I'm like, he's like, cool. I'm like, same thing. So it was so nice. And then game 2, I felt really bad for him. This guy found Tron on turn 3, natural Tron, turn 3. He kept finding towers. I'm like, oh. And then he's like, all right, Prophetic Prism. I'm like, negate. He's like, okay, all right, I can't do that. So then he like tries to hold up, right? And he's like, all right, like turn 5. He's like, all right, Prism. I'm like, negate. He's like, okay. Then he goes for what's called the Reactor. I'm like, Privet. He's like, shit. And then he had another Prism, and I'm like, sorry, dude. Counterspell. He's like, no, bro. What? He's like, I think I'm fucked. I'm like, we can try playing it out a little bit more, but I think you're screwed, dude. And I just
because you're just gonna keep bringing the counter spells back.
I just started picking him off with Modern Ages, and he just found more Tron lands. He never found a colored source, and it was just
rough.
Game.
Yeah,
I mean, that is the real issue with that deck. Is if you don't find a colored source, it's like really rough, really rough. You can't find, especially can't find a blue source. You know, in your first, honestly, 3 turns. Very hard. Very, very hard. So,
well, all right. What's the next round? What's the next round? We have a victory. We're feeling pretty good. Not too bad.
Yeah, I'm like, okay. I'm 1-2. That's fine. I can come back from that. Not the end of the world. Then I got paired into Arachnus Madness, and I was like, okay, great.
This is a good match.
This is a great match for me. Game 1, I find combo by turn 5, and I tank a little bit on my turn 5 where I'm like, okay, I'm starting to count, and my opponent's getting a little antsy because he's like, dude, you got to play faster, you know. And fair enough. I am tanking right now, and I'm like, dude, I'm sorry, I'm tanking. I'm trying to count, literally counting every fucking mana and like every interaction. See if I go up, and I realize I can't go off here. I wait. I go one more turn. I'm like, all right, I can do it. So I start doing the thing. I'm like, all right, infinite mana. He's like, all right, next game. Cool. Go to the next game, and I maul to 4. And I get outvalued. He keeps a 7. I maul to 4. It's so hard to come back from a Pauper. It's just rough, man. And it sucks because like my sideboard is so good against that deck. I find Dust to Dust. I just don't find the lands. You know, I'm like, I end up dusting him once, but it didn't matter because he just had a full grip of 7. He just kept playing
Kitchen
lands.
Kitchen Imps, right? Yeah,
Kitchen Imps came out.
Sneaky Snackers.
It's just way too much value. And then we go to game 3. Once again, mull to 5 against a 7. I'm like, are you kidding me, dude? Not again. I don't understand. And it's crazy because I have 19 lands and 4 Lorien Reveals. It's basically 23 lands. And I'm only on 3 Chanceries, not 4, because like I was feeling like 4 was just making my mulls hurt a little bit too much. Also, my game 1s with High Tide, I'd rather see an idyllic beachfront a lot of the times than a Chancery. So I cut a Chancery for a beachfront, which mostly has felt pretty good. But like, yeah, even with that, yeah, like I think on my second mull in game 3, I had 2 Chancery draw, and my mulligan, my first mulligan, I'm like, oh no, unkeepable, right? And then it's because I have nothing to bounce, and then I have to go down again. So it was just like a little bit too hard. I start clawing back, and actually that was a grindy one. We didn't go to time, but he did end up just like outvaluing me. I just didn't have enough stuff in my hand to answer.
So you kind of lose on variance in this one. Is essentially what happened.
Yeah, it felt really bad. Honestly, it kind of sucked. I was feeling pretty. That's the one match that I think. I mean, I wasn't really. I'm pretty good at not getting tilted, but like I was like,
yeah, this is a favorite game for you too.
I needed, and I needed. I really did need that game. Like now, my chances of actually of breaking in to the cut is really low.
Yeah.
At this point, because now I'm 1-3. I'm like, all right. At this point, I probably should drop. If Eric, who I drove in, we're like neighbors. If he wasn't doing well, if he wasn't, he was 3-2 at that point. No, he was 2.
2-2.
4. He was 2-2.
Yeah.
So he's still in. So I'm like, all right, I'll play one more game. But if he wasn't with me, I would have dropped.
Yeah.
And got a beer and got lunch. And then my last game before I dropped was against another local. Choirun, she's awesome. She's the wife of another local player. They always come to locals every Thursday. Super gracious player. Love playing against her. I've never lost a match against her locally ever in the past year that we've been playing. She's been showing up to LGS for about a year. I have not lost against Choirun. Choirun, if you're listening to this podcast, amazing game. I respect you so much. You played awesome. But damn, I got wrecked. She's playing her Gruul Ram deck. She always plays the beater deck. She plays White Weenie. She plays Gruul Ram. She played some Panza. She also has like a Rakdos Affinity Brew that's pretty cool with Pact-All stuff. And
is this red green aggro? Is this the Panza variant, or is this just like Cascade beatdown?
No, this is just not Cascade. No Cascade creatures at all. Actually, it's Crew Shocks. Crew Shocks and Eternal Witnesses. And using the Crew Shock to put counters on the Witness to recur stuff. So it's just like value recursion engine. Very, very cool deck. I really, really like it. That's if I was going to play a Gruul Ram deck in tournament, that's the one that I would play, actually, not Panza. I think it's a better deck.
I think Panza's garbage.
And I think Panza's garbage, too. It's too much. You just lose to yourself.
You lose to yourself all the time, dude. I've cascaded like 10, 12 times with that deck, and I just show people Wild Growths and Utopia Sprawls.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh.
Yeah, but this deck can actually play Malevolent Rumbles successfully. That's like a good card. It's playing what is that? The 3-mana Vigilant
Jewel Thief.
Jewel Thief. It's playing full set of Jewel Thieves. It's good. It's a good deck. It's playing full set of Jewel Thieves and a full set of Repurposers. Which are great because
Chrysalis and all those. Yeah, those are always
she just went super wide, super fast. She's playing 4 Nyx Blooms, which
you kind of have to. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and that card
it gives you the trample to get over.
Card is crap. So you have 8 trample enablers in that deck because you have Nyx Bloom and you have the Crew Shocks, which are 2-for-1 also. So you have like a bunch of 2-for-1s in the deck, which is awesome. It's so good, right?
Yeah.
Because you can if I kill a Crew Shock or I counter it. Goes to the graveyard, you can then use that as an enabler to put counters and trample on a Chrysalis from the grave, which is nutty, right?
Yep.
Absolutely nutty. Super good deck. It grinds well. I just got housed. It's one of the worst matchups I ran into all of the worst matchups for my deck. If I could pick the top worst matchups for the deck, it is the number 1 is Gruul Ram. That matchup is heinous.
Yeah, like Stompy variants, right? Just essentially Stompy variants.
Oh, Pawns is actually the worst, but both are bad. Gruul Ram, horrible matchup. Then after that, the next worst is Elves. Awful matchup, just really heinous. And then after that is Mono Blue Terror, which is pretty bad, but not the most heinous. Like I feel like I have a chance, depending if my cards line up. My cards have to line up. That's like a 7-3 matchup. The other two, Elves is somewhere between. It's probably like they're probably 8-2 matchups, both of them. Bad.
That's bro. If you
Rough.
told me that, I would not be playing familiars, dude. Like I can't play
Well,
deck that's like
I
you got to
wasn't
play
really
60-40. I like
Yeah, I
40
wasn't really
60s.
expecting too many Elves players. It's not super popular in the New York meta. The only one player I know of is my buddy Michelangelo, whose list I helped him put together. Right, like we tanked on this list for the past. Me, Eric, and Mike like talk all the time. We're always brewing and we're always talking and like we're always practicing against each other like every week. So like that's my crew. That's like my testing crew. So I knew every card in his list, right? And I knew I'm like if I ran into this deck, I am just going to die. So like, what are the chances?
And you
100-person
did.
tournament.
And then you died.
I died. All right, I'm like, oh, are you kidding me? Then like once again, Gruul. I'm like, okay, Gruul's probably a little bit more popular, but generally in New York, the most popular decks are going to be. I knew Mono Blue Terror was going to be popular. I knew that. Rakdos, Mono Blue Terror, Mono Red, Dimir Terror, Dimir Fey, Mono Blue Fey, Affinity, like and Jund Wildfire. Those are the decks and Walls. Those are the decks that I really felt like I had to look out for.
Well, it's ironic, right? Because Affinity has been just going less and less and less online. It's just been dropping a lot. Even like locally here to me, I literally just no one plays it except for like Franklin plays it.
Yeah, there was
It's
like
very weird.
there was like 2 or 3 Affinity players in this tournament. I think that's it.
Yeah,
There was
it's
I
very
think
weird to me.
two Grixis Affinity players in the whole tournament. That's insane.
Yeah.
I was expecting so much more.
Well,
But
I think
didn't show up.
it's what you said last time is that I still think it's one of the top decks of the format, but people are kind of just tired with it. They want to do something else. Like I really think that's what it is because
Yeah,
if you ever play the deck's crazy good, and
crazy.
I just don't really understand why you wouldn't play it, especially because you got the Carclayans. It's like so good against all of the Stompy variants. Like it's strong. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't really get
it's
it.
really strong. It's funny because like after this tournament, over the past week, I'm playing a lot online, and I made a few minor tweaks to my affinity list. And I've been playing a lot of affinity online and just doing really really well. But like, okay, I feel like Rakdos Madness like can't beat it, and that
No,
deck is everywhere. I feel
they
like
can't beat it.
most of the red decks just can't beat it now because you're
It
playing.
depends. It depends how. Like when you draw your tap side of the deck, you lose. Like that's the
Yeah,
problem that the deck has. It's just like you sit there with all your indestructible lands. You're like, I'll be fine. And that's the game they have like the bolt you hand,
yeah,
and you're like,
yeah.
I guess you got me. Like,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but like I feel like now that they're playing, more than one unexpected fangs, that
yeah,
card just puts in like the moment you fang up a Mirror Enforcer, the game's over.
yeah,
This game's
yeah,
just over. They literally can't kill it. They have to galv and bolt it. But it's like these decks, apart from like Madness, draws a lot of cards, but even then, it's not like
ideal.
losing 2 really really strong uh two direct to face cards can just spell death. Like that's
Yep,
just the end. And I've probably already gained 5 life off of that, so it's like that's like 4 cards versus that's
yeah,
like a plus going plus 4 cards. That's
yeah. Because
nutty.
I'm on
It's too
the
strong.
fanatical offerings in my version, so I always end up targeting like a mirror enforcer. It turns to a 7/7 with the unexpected things, and they're just like
Yeah,
extra dead. I'm like,
yeah,
what?
extra dead.
I'm like, what are
Yeah,
you doing
yeah,
with
yeah,
this? Like, I got all these fanatical, like all these map tokens laying around. I either target my Carclin shamans with it, then my opponent's
hmm
like,
yeah,
like,
yeah. I think actually the way the deck is built now is really good against those decks. So I have no fear there. The decks that feel a little more difficult, like Jund Wildfire, feels actually like a pretty tough matchup. Um,
interesting. I always felt that one to be easy to.
it's
I think
really, it's really, it's just one card. If
it's
they
due to
see, it's
sideboards.
do they
Like,
see Nyxborn Hydra or do they not see Nyxborn Hydra? And it really depends. It depends on what
fair.
cards you're sideboarding. Like the one card that I see a lot of players using as like the counter to that is Eviscerator. Not Eviscerator Insight. It's the sorcery, the 2-mana sorcery that your opponent has to sack their largest creature
Oh, I know
if
what
you
you're talking
delve
about.
cards.
Something confession.
Extract Confession.
Extracted Confession.
Yeah, Extracted Confession is what I've seen people use as the answer to Hydra, which makes sense. I'm not playing Extracted Confession. I've also seen people using Cast Down, right? I'm also not playing Cast Down, so my only removal, I'm on like 4 Clarks, and a bunch of like toxin type stuff. I'm just
that's what I'm on. I don't.
and four
I
Gal
just
Blast.
rack the field. Yeah.
I'm just on Wrath and Gal Blast for my removal.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that lines up and sometimes it doesn't. When it lines up, it's great. When it doesn't line up, you just get Nyxborn for a lot.
So I have Hunter's Blowgun in my deck. So
same. I'm probably running 2 Blowguns and then 1 Toxin in the sideboard. Yep.
Yeah, I think I'm in 1 main and 1 board. I don't remember. I'd have to look. But Franklin is the one that plays it more than I do currently.
I'm running a Last Rites now in my sideboard, which is interesting. I was on 3 main deck Nile Spell Bombs, which I'm still on 3 main deck Nile Spell Bombs.
Board, believe it or not.
Yeah, so I'm on 3 main deck and I was on 1 on the board. And
I have to look. You got me interested.
I cut the 1 on the board out for a Last Rites because I feel like that card is just. I want it in the same matchups that I mostly want Nile Spell Bomb, but I also want it in the Elves matchup and in Walls and these like ultra turbo combo decks that can just get under me. If I see a Last Rites on turn 3, they are screwed.
Yeah,
they're just done.
We kind of went off of
anyway. We kind
of went off. But let's go back to
overall.
fams.
Yeah. So fams overall in the tournament, I still think the deck is good. Clearly it's good because someone made top 8. 5th deck overall was a fams list. And, even though they're not on a high tide list, our lists are probably only like 6 cards different. Maybe not even. It's like 5 cards, I think. So, like, it's really like you're splitting hairs at that point. I have a feeling their matchups just lined up maybe a little bit better.
Yeah, I can see that.
They hit the lottery a little bit better than I did. Is what it is. And, I did get wrecked by variance in 2 games where I had to mull a lot, which really sucked.
That happens, bro. That happens to everybody. But
it happens.
With all that said, though, what do you... The last question, then we'll wrap this up.
Sure.
Would you tell people to play this deck?
Oh, no. Do not. No. If you're... So, okay. I guess it's a 2-part question, I guess. If you're new to 60-card Pauper, do not play this deck as your first deck. I think you're just... Okay, if you're new to 60-card Pauper and you want to play in tournaments, do not play this deck. But if you're new to 60-card Pauper and you're just playing locally with friends and you really love, combo decks and you really love blue-white control decks, you're coming from a background, that's a little bit more old school, like you're a legacy player or you are like a pre-modern player or an old school player or something like that, and you're just used to playing blue-white control, you love that type of deck, I think you'll probably really like this deck. It'll feel at home for you. But if you're not that, and you really do want to play in like local events, like timed events, your timed rounds, do not play this deck. It is slow. You really need to play. You're forced to play quickly, and with that, you need to play the deck enough where you can't really think about your turns. You have to just instinctively know what you're doing, which is just a different skill than like thinking through the deck. So like, I think most Magic players are actually very, very smart people. They're very clever. We're generally of a fairly high intelligence level. So I don't want to demean anybody by saying this deck is hard because you're not smart enough. You're probably smart enough. If you're listening to this podcast, you're definitely smart enough.
It's a learning curve. I would also throw it out there, right?
It's not. Yeah, exactly. It's not about being smart enough. You have to play the deck enough where like you literally just start autopiloting a little bit. Yeah. You have to like look at your hand and just like your eyes roll back into your head and you're just like, all right, here's a bunch of my lands. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna invoke a Drifter. We're gonna snap the Drifter, replay the Drifter, ephemerate the Drifter. Ephemerate goes into exile. You draw 2 cards. All right, all right, I'm done.
Yep. Get it going quickly. Yeah, I can totally see that.
Yeah, and you're not even thinking. You're just like doing it because you've done it enough. And it's like you also have to be very, very, very good at clearly explaining all your interactions to your opponent because you have a ton of micro interactions and you can't skip through them. So like that, like for me, the explanation part now is just like second nature. I don't even, my eyes glaze over and I just do it, right? And I explain all my cards very quickly and what they do as I play them. I honestly, it's second nature. I don't even think about it. People often like my Tron player that I played against. He was like, cool. Don't explain. Go. You know, he was like, he had to
Yeah,
tell
do
me
your
to
thing.
stop explaining the cards as I played them because it's like I'm not even thinking about it. You know,
Yeah.
that's just how I play. And it's how you're supposed to play the deck and how you have to play the deck in tournament. And you're like your LGS against people who don't know the deck. Most people don't know this deck. They don't know what the hell it does. So you do have to clearly explain it. That does take time. So you have to do it really freaking fast.
Yeah.
You have to play very, very fucking fast. And you have to line up your turns like 3 or 4 turns in advance for the most part. That's just how it is. And so it's a hard deck to play in that way. And what sucks about that is it makes it so that you have to dedicate a lot of games to the deck before you can like get to a point where you can play it in the tournament, take it to tournament, which means that you're not playing other decks that are probably just better. So like you can just play like Jund, or you can play Affinity, or you can play like if you want to play a more grindy control deck, there are a bunch of other decks that just do that, have that game plan, but better and easier, and people know what you're doing. You know, you could play Mono Blue Terror is a bit more of a tempo deck, but it's still like you get to play counter spells and you get to play threats and you get to hit people with things. You know, it's it's like a more straightforward deck. It's faster to play. It's probably a better deck overall. It's better matchups. So like if you're not a sucker for pain, don't play FAMs. If you are a sucker for pain and you really you just have to play blue white control, it's really the only deck. Coggates is the other blue white control deck. Honestly, it kind of falls into the same. It has a lot of the same issues as familiars.
Well, thank you for that explanation. That actually makes a lot of sense. I agree with everything you're talking about because I've also played familiars quite a bit, and it brings me back to like my old Legacy days. So I completely understand where you're coming from with that. But with that said, any closing statements?
Yeah, shout outs to all my opponents in the tournament. Y'all were great. It was such a fun time. I will definitely be doing it again. Probably not playing familiars. As for those Marvel vs. Capcom 2 players, as the great Sanford Kelly said, just pick a top tier. Just pick a top tier. If you want to win and you want a good tournament experience, where you're not sweating as hard and you don't go to time and you want to actually be able to eat and grab a drink and use the bathroom between rounds because that actually matters a lot, play a better deck. I'll probably be playing Affinity or Mono Red Madness at my next event because those decks are great.
Yep, totally fair. Well, with that said, thank you again for hitting this episode with me. And if you guys stayed this long, you were one of the real ones. And I'm going to take us home. So once again, guys, all of our socials will be down in the below section. And please comment there. Let us know what we messed up on. I'm sure we did a little bit of things. Let us know if you're interested in this familiar list. We'll actually put it down in the comments below as well, so you guys can check it out. And I also think if we can, let's actually put the tournament down there so you guys can see the standings and whatnot. That'll be pretty interesting, I'm sure, for a lot of you guys.
Yep.
But with all that, thanks again, and y'all have a good one.
Thank you for watching, and if you want to support the channel, please subscribe and join the Discord in our link below. And become a member over on our Patreon. Shout out to all of our patrons and YouTube channel members: Eric, Cobraman, Aaron, Devin, NYC Burrito, Little Rad Lotad, Frank, Scoob, HZ, Too Much Do, and Bernie. Thank you for all of your support.